Executive National Vice President Molly Croker, and I get to share. I'm a healthy living nut. I'm a health and wellness nut. I am a living well nut. I'm all about it. So I'm here for it. I'm here to age well and live well, and I know all of you are as well. So I love Dr. Tanda Cook. She is brilliant, and she is a naturopathic doctor. You're going to get to hear from her. And she's actually going to talk about all kinds of gut health. So I am dying because that is my favorite movie. If you're watching the chat, you're wondering why I'm laughing because I love Best in Show just like Shane Devlin does. So, but I'm going to get started with this great overview from Dr. Tanda. Again, we're going to be talking about all kinds of gut health. So make sure you can hear me. I'm going to hit share. And, oh, you know what? Before I share, I got to make sure you can hear my audio. Let me check that we are all good. And we're going to go with this. You tell me, Shane, if you can hear it.
Happy Wednesday. Hey, team.
Great.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about infant development, some postpartum stuff. And I also want to acknowledge that this is a really, really touchy subject, and there are so many opinions out there. You've been told you should feed X, you shouldn't feed Y, you should eat blah while you're breastfeeding, you shouldn't eat blah while you're breastfeeding. It's like everyone has opinions. So what I'm going to do tonight is talk to you all about how an infant's immune system develops, because as we know, 80% of the immune system lives in our gastrointestinal system. Now, what we were taught when I was in medical school way back in the dark ages is that we thought that an infant, a fetus was sterile inside the womb, inside your mother. Okay, so you were sterile. And then when you go through the birth canal, you get slimed with bacteria and stuff, right? And that's what starts to build your immune system. Well, what we're finding now is that there are bacteria that can live without oxygen. And we know that by DNA sequencing. I'm not going to go down that road. But we now know that you're not sterile inside your mom. What happens when you go through the birth canal is that you do get slimed. So you have these anaerobic and aerobic bacteria, viruses and fungi and parasites and all these things that make up our microbiome. We have ones that live with oxygen and ones that live without oxygen. And that's what makes up you. So what's really important to understand is that the infant's immune development starts from conception. It really starts to develop when that child goes through the birth canal. And the other coolest part about going through the birth canal is I read an article, this was probably a few years ago. This is just what makes me love the human body and the synergy that we have with life is, okay, so when an infant goes through the birth canal, they get, I don't want to say slimed, but they do. They get slimed with vaginal stuff and blood and feces and fluids, and then it starts to cry, and so it swallows some of this stuff, and so that's what literally starts to populate the gut. Now, then that little infant is put on its mother's chest, and there is a sugar in breast milk that feeds the bacteria that kid just got slimed with. Like, the body knew, and it's called Bifidophilus. So there's different strains of bacteria. Like arbonnes has, lactobacillus, Bacillus coagulans, some of the other bacilluses. Bifidophilus is really important in the beginning of an immune development for an infant. So breast milk knew that. So when that kid latches on to its mother's breast and starts nursing, those bacteria immediately get fed to help that kid's immune system win. Like, I just think it's so freaking rad how the body works. So again, for those of you who have children, are thinking about having children, are pregnant currently, there are setting your kid's gut up to win, setting your child's immune system up to win is one of the most powerful things that you can do for their longevity. So many of our patients come to us in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they have chronic, you name it, chronic fatigue, chronic hormone issues, they have autoimmune disease, they have gut imbalance, they have cancer diagnosis. There's some sort of diagnoses. Well, what Dr. Katie and I do is go all the way back to the beginning. And those of you who have worked with us know that I'm going to ask you in one of our first visits, were you breastfed or formula fed? Were you a C-section or a vaginal birth? Those matter. Were you really sick as a child? Were you put on a lot of antibiotics? That matters, because what you're doing in that first 10 years of life is really setting that kid's immune system up to win. And remember, what is the immune system? The immune system is our cells that roam around the body and bump into things, and they say, oh, excuse me, are you me or are you not me? And if it's a not me, it flags that thing and alerts the rest of the immune system to, I don't like to use the word attack, but like attack that thing. Okay. So having a good boundary with your immune system, having a healthy, intact immune system will set that kid up for low levels of allergies, low level of risk of autoimmune, low level of cancer risk, because we have a healthy immune system. There's lots of other aspects to cancer, I understand. But one of them is how healthy your immune system is. We have something called tumor necrosis factor that will shut down tumors, right? So setting this kid's immune system up to win is so important. Now, out the gate, it's ideal to breastfeed, ideally, and I'm going to just talk about like how physiology works and how the immune system works. In the first 1 year of life, that your child can only mount one immune response. We have several as adults because our immune system develops over time. So I think about it as you, Susie Q, who's 38 years old listening to this call, you have a 17-car garage with all different kinds of cars in it. You have a convertible for the sunny days. You have a bus for the days that you want to, go with a billion of your friends. You have a Sprinter van when you want to go traveling. You have a Hummer because you love it. You have 17 different ways to drive in your life. We have I'm making these numbers up, you guys, so please don't quote me. I'm just for the sake of communication. So you have 17 different ways of driving your immune system. That's why it also bothers me when people say boosting the immune system. We're not boosting, we're driving, right? We're doing things to actually drive certain pathways. When your kid is born, when an infant is born in the first 1 year of life, they only have one car that they get to react to everything with, while they're also building their cars at the same time. So in that first year of life, they can only react with one car. And what we want to do is set them up for building all of their other vehicles for the rest of their life. And how do we do that? Breastfeeding is number one. The other thing that, and ideally it would be in the first 2 years of life. And I get it. Not everybody can, not everybody's capable of. And I am literally a disclaimer. I am talking about a subject that is so triggering for people. I want to acknowledge that. And I also know that you probably will have questions in the end. So please reach out to me or Molly. And that every case is as individual as your fingerprint. Okay. I'm just going to give you kind of how a child's immune system develops in the first year of life, and then how to set them up basically between the age of 2 and 10. And then also how to self-care for moms, because my experience is women are not very good at self-caring. So again, in the first year of life, your kid only has one car. So you're going to do things to help it build its other cars. Number one is breastfeeding. Number two is environmental, like get a dog, get a cat, I don't say a fish. You want to expose this kid to as many, like going to a farm or visiting a farm or living on a farm and having that child exposed to a lot of stuff is really important. I also understand like there's like in the first few weeks, in the first few months of life, depending on what you're doing with immune schedules and vaccine schedules, like I'm just saying, in the first year of life, this kid only has one car. And so exposing them in the first 2 years of their life to a lot of stuff, like you'll see 2-year-olds putting a lot of things in their mouth. That's what they're populating their gut. They're exposing themselves to bacteria from the outside world. So visiting farms when they're 1.5, visiting farms when they're 3, visiting farms when they're 4, like getting them exposure, then traveling with them when they're 18 months old, like take them on a trip, expose them to different air qualities, then uh, letting them, I mean, I joke with people that when I'm in the airports and I see kids, like walking with their parents and they're like licking the arm rails of the stairs and the parents are like, oh my gosh, don't do that. Like, God, it's actually, I know I'm probably triggering so many people right now. It actually is really good for the kid. The more they are exposed to, the better. There was a study done in Sweden where there were less allergies in households that did not have dishwashers. Okay? Less allergies in households with no dishwashers. Why? Because the dishwashers were sanitizing everything. So the level of exposure to bacteria was this. So the children, the kids weren't exposed. They didn't have this huge array of microbes. They had a very limited one. So then when they were exposed to anything outside of that, it triggered the immune response. And Molly, I can do a whole nother call on the immune response for allergies. So the dishwasher would sterilize and limit their bacteria exposure versus the households that just wash their dishes in the sink with a sponge that was probably covered in bacteria, and those kids ate off those plates. They were exposed to a wider array of bacteria. If you think of our gut microbiome, and I think I said this at one of the GTCs, you think of it like a rainforest. We need from our mouth to our anus, as we want as much diversity as possible, like the diversity of a rainforest. Now, because of antibiotic use, because of our processed food diet, because of our shit quality air, because of our poor quality of water, because of the stress that we're under, because of using tons of antibacterial and sanitizing stuff, we have limited what we're exposed to, and we have limited what can actually populate our microbiome. So then we have very small amounts of bacteria in our gut to help us do things. So remember, our microbiome is its own organ. And why do we care? Why do we care if it's diverse? Why do we care if we have lots of Bifidophilus? Why are we taking Lactobacillus? And why are we taking Bacillus coagulans? Why are we taking Acidophilus? Like, we want all of those strains to be very diverse so that they can then do their job. And I know I've said it a million times, but we are more microbes than we are human cells. We're like 5% human and 95% bacteria. So the more we expose ourselves to stuff, the healthier our immune system is, the healthier our microbes are, the healthier our rainforest is. And when we come out the gate doing that, yes, I understand, like in the first few months of life, you want to limit exposure because they're fragile. But then like, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5 is like traveling, farms, licking handrails. And the other thing that blew my mind in medical school, and I don't say a lot of this online because it really triggers people, is, and I was just talking to Molly about this, is, so you breastfeed your kid for a year. Then what's the first food that you're told to give them? Rice, cereal, right? Or carbohydrates. And that child's pancreas, which secretes amylase, is not fully developed. So that child is not digesting that sugar very well. And we're like shoving animal crackers and goldfish and pirate booty and whatever else snack foods we're giving kids in the first 2 years of life, they can't actually digest that. So the best thing to do, which is exactly what Arbonne's been talking about, right? It's like the best thing to give your kid is protein and fat. Their brain is I mean that's what mostly breast milk is, cholesterol. It's really high in fat because it's building their brain. So egg yolks, organ meats, those are actually the best things to be giving your kid in out the gate. But we have been taught not to do that. So, and again, like, and this is what Arbonne has said. This is what Dr. Katie has said. This is what I have said for adults. It's protein forward, fat forward, fiber forward meals, which is, and then limiting the processed food and carbohydrates. So again, summary is to set a kid up to win is a vaginal birth, breastfeeding for ideally, this is all ideal, the first 2 years, and then lots of exposure to the outside world so that we can build the microbiome. Because remember, the microbiome is making neurotransmitters for us. They are making vitamins for us. They are helping us break down our food. They are preventing diseases. They play a key role in our skin health. They play a key role in our brain health. It's like we want them to be diverse and we want them to be happy. And like if you are concentrating on really setting your kid up for the first 10 years of their life with dogs and whole foods and then the supplements to really have, I think, I'm gonna be careful what I say, but like all kids are going to be taking fermented food or probiotics. Ideally, the first age 0 to 5, they're taking that Bifidophilus strain. Okay. Then kids need to be taking vitamin D. D as in dog, because it's we are all low in it. It plays a key role in the immune system. And then I would say out the gate, those two supplements are really important. Now, mamas, I have to say, open the Arbonne catalog to any page. And I want you I mean, Molly and I were just talking, like, postpartum is a super stressful, especially if you're a new mom. And I know a lot of you are, uh, and that not losing self-care for you, not losing nutrition, not letting uh, taking care of yourself go out the window and enrolling a team to do that. I mean, that's why like this team that we talk to once a month is that it's like helping each other actually taking care of yourself. And I mean, if you love the skincare, fall into that. If you love the makeup, fall into that. If the nutrition line is like keeping you alive because you're just surviving, do that. So again, it's a topic that I'm very passionate about. It is a topic that is very individualized. Um, I think specifically with breastfeeding moms, maintaining nutrition is really important. And yes, calories matter because you are burning so much while you're breastfeeding. And truly, like the more whole foods, the better. And I have seen Arbonne products, the nutrition products, keep women, the shakes, like they'll add all sorts of fruits and vegetables and whole foods to it just to help sustain them. Um, but you guys like scroll through, just flip open the Arbonne catalog and help is there. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of self-care, asking for help, delegating, and then the gut health of your kid is oh vital. I mean, I'm just thinking like if you're like had a checklist of things to do, it would be if you have not given birth yet, it would be do your best to have a vaginal birth, do your best to breastfeed for 1 to 2 years, introduce protein and fat, uh, and let that kid eat dirt. I mean, Molly and I were just saying that. My Molly, I think it was what did your grandfather say? You should eat a cup of dirt before you're two or something. It's like, yeah, we have been lost in this antibacterial world, and from a physiological standpoint, it doesn't make sense. We are bacteria, and the more antibiotics we take, the more, and there's a time and place, but the more sanitation stuff we put on our skin, our hands, our clothing, I mean, everything is antibacterial, and they're not the enemy. And there is a balance to it all. So I'm sure that you guys have a lot of questions. I know this is a very broad overview. But I'm right here, and ask me questions, contact Molly. You can contact me, Tanda at drtandacook.com. And I love you guys. This is amazing. And I'll see you next month.
All right, you guys, that was a lot. I guess I'm glad my kids are 22 and 25, although I did a lot of things right. So I hope that you absolutely found that of value. If you've got little ones, if you're planning on having little ones, share this video with moms, new moms, moms that are expecting, people that haven't even thought about having a baby yet. It's just great information. And just like Tanda says, she's super open. So just email her, reach out to me if you have specific questions. I can definitely get in touch with her. But we're so grateful that you got to come and hear a little bit more. And don't forget to, if you have a grandchild or you're the mom of a small one, let them eat dirt, let them lick the banister.
Let them eat dirt. It's my favorite.
It's all good. And easy on the sanitation, the hand wipes, the hand sanitizers, all those things. Wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, but or before you cook a meal, go ahead and just wash them. That's always a good thing, but easy on the hand sanitizer. That'll trigger Molly Guile for sure. So
I used to say no. I just said no to the hand sanitizer when they asked me to bring it in their school supply list. I was like, no. And my kids aren't allowed to use it. And as a matter of fact, here is a thing of Arbonne hand soap, and you can put that at the sink because I really don't want my kids washing their hands with whatever bacterial business you have going on here.
I agree.
Guys, can I just share something really quick? I just saw one of the homeopathic doctors I follow on Instagram did hand sanitizer on a piece of bread. So they did they put some kind of bacteria. I don't remember what it was, right? Or left it out. Piece of bread with nothing done to it. Piece of something that had been washed with soap and water, and then hand sanitizer. The one that had been rubbed and nothing had done to it, of course, grew some bacteria, right? That's normal. But the hand sanitizer grew just as much as the one that wasn't treated. We're thinking it's protecting. It's not. It's not doing anything but destroying your good bacteria. So cut it out. Just soap and water.
Amen.
That binky falls on the floor, go ahead and pop it back in their mouth. Yep, lick it off, pop it back in their mouth, or just shove it in there regardless.
Eat a pound of dirt. That's what my dad always said.
There you go. May that be forever ingrained on your brain. So thank you guys for dialing in, and we'll see you here next Wednesday.
Are you ready for a bath?